stay a while and listen.
Hello everybody, my name is Necroxis, and today we're going to be taking a small look at some of the particularly interesting tidbits of information from the new audio drama that Blizzard just released about Turalyon and Alleria called 1,000 Years of War. So before we go any farther, I want to say that if you haven't yet listened to the 3-part audio drama, go ahead, pause this video, and do so before coming back, because we're going to be discussing some of the spoilers. Still here? Alright, here we go. I could make a 5-hour-long video on all the things I want to talk about that came about from the audio drama, but I figured a better way for you all to talk about all the lore goodies, and also a way that won't drive me crazy trying to write, record, and edit such a long video, I'd instead make a series of short videos talking about specific topics. Today we're going to talk about Turalyon and his son, Eretor the Redeemer, specifically about a moment that potentially reveals the fate of the High Exarch. So, let's begin. Eretor the Redeemer is the child of Turalyon, High General of the Alliance of Lordaeron and Alleria Windrunner, Ranger Captain of the High Elves of Silvermoon. Turalyon and Alleria met during the Second War out of cooperation between Lordaeron and Silvermoon. And as the war progressed, eventually the lands of the High Elves were burned by the Forest Trolls, working alongside the Orcish Horde. This event would drive Alleria into Turalyon's arms and their romance would begin. For the entire histories of Alleria and Turalyon, look for the video I did a few years ago, but the relevant information to know is that Eretor was born just a few months before Alleria and Turalyon volunteered, along with Khadgar, Danath Trollbane, and Kurdran Wildhammer, to lead a contingent of Alliance troops to Draenor to permanently end the Orc threat, following the Alliance of Lordaeron's victory over the Horde during the Second War. When Draenor was destroyed by Ner'zhul's recklessness, Alleria and Turalyon escaped together through a portal and wound up in the Twisting Nether. There they would not re-emerge until decades later during the events of Legion, and during their time in the Nether, thousands of years passed due to unnatural ways time flows there. For their son, however, time on Azeroth passed normally. Eretor would grow up to be a paladin just like his father, and 18 years after his parents left for another world, Lord Kazak of the Burning Legion found a way to reopen the Dark Portal. Eretor accompanied the Alliance and Horde forces to Outland in search of his parents. Here he found the still-standing Alliance stronghold of Honor Hold and met Danath Trollbane, a close personal friend of both Alleria and Turalyon. On that day, Eretor pledged his services to Danath until the victory over Illidan in the Black Temple. Meanwhile, Turalyon and Alleria would be found by the Army of the Light and its leader, the Prime Naru Zira, the Light Mother. Zira offered Turalyon and Alleria a place leading the Army of the Light, and with the blessing of the Light itself. Alleria would inevitably wind up going down a different path, but Turalyon embraced his destiny with open arms, and, while undergoing a ritual to essentially be reborn in the light, saw a series of visions. One of which is particularly important to this video.
I saw Eretor. He was grown, a paladin, standing beneath a crimson sky looking down at me. I could feel nothing but pride for him.
You see, Turalyon and Alleria's primary concern is their son. It's the reason why they willingly volunteered for a suicide mission to stop the Horde on Draenor. It's why they willingly leapt through a portal into the Twisting Nether to escape the exploding Draenor. It's why they willingly joined the Army of the Light to save Azeroth, because their son lives there. So, for Turalyon, seeing a vision of his son all grown up and a paladin like himself would give him nothing but a feeling of pride. And if you knew nothing else about this moment, you might think this vision was a positive one. But what if it wasn't? What if, in fact, Turalyon saw a vision of his own death and didn't even realize it? And better yet, what if Zira purposefully didn't show him that bit? Remember what Turalyon said he saw.
I could feel nothing but pride for him.
Nothing but pride. An interesting choice of words, no? And one that is repeated. Suspicious, huh? But there is even more evidence that what Turalyon saw might actually have been his own death. In Outland, at Honor Hold's Inn, speaking to Eretor will give you an interesting piece of dialogue. This one isn't voiced, so I'll read it to you myself. Quote, I was only an infant when my father was deployed to this wasteland. All that I have ever known of him is what others have told of me. Do your dreams change? Mine do not. A crimson skyline envelops me as Legion, numbering beyond comprehension, battle in the distance. I kneel before the body of a man, presumably my father, and weep. As he is gasping for air, his body wholly crushed, he is whispering something. Despite every effort, I am unable to hear what he is trying to tell me. This dream of Eretor's is not only similar to what Turalyon's vision shows him, but is nearly identical. Both of the quotes reference a crimson skyline. Both of the quotes reference the fact that Eretor is looking down at his father. Eretor's dream shows Turalyon dying in his arms, while Turalyon's vision shows him unable to feel anything. Perhaps this is the split second before he passes away. There is absolutely no chance that Blizzard accidentally had Xe'ra show Turalyon a vision that randomly lined up with the exact dream his son had that showed him dying. The only logical conclusion you can draw when presented with these two pieces of information is that at some point, probably soon, Turalyon is going to die, and he's going to die in front of his son. Now, an interesting thing to note is that Eretor's dream, which was written over 10 years ago during Burning Crusade, mentions the Legion, but Turalyon's vision does not. So it's entirely possible that this tiny bit of the prophecy is being rewritten to mean that Turalyon dies on a battlefield against the forces of the Void Lords rather than the Legion, since it was only about 5 years ago that Blizzard changed the ultimate enemy of Warcraft from the Burning Legion to the Void Lords. However, it is also possible that we see Turalyon dying during the Antorus raid. Not all of the quotes have been data mined from the new raid yet, and we still aren't 100% sure about literally everything that happens in the cinematic at the end. It is possible that at some point while we fight our way to stop the newborn Titan Argus from awakening and destroying the universe, that Turalyon either sacrifices himself or is dealt a fatal blow. Now you might wonder how that would fit with the idea of both Turalyon and Eretor both saying the sky above them was crimson, but actually it does fit during the Antorus raid. Not only during the final fight against Argus itself, since we see an enormous red smoke-like figure beginning to cover Azeroth, which many of us take to assume is Sargeras, but the room in which you fight Agrimar right before this is crimson as well. If Turalyon does indeed die in the Antorus raid, either of these locations could still fit the prophecy. And one final important bit to make in all of this is the topic of Alleria. Between the events of 7.3 and the audio drama, we can see that the driving force behind Alleria's ability to resist the maddening whispers of the Void is Turalyon, but, more importantly, Eretor. The two of them together provide the anchor she uses to stop from going insane. To such an extreme that when Alleria's mind is being racked with visions from the Void, the reason she's able to eventually determine the truth in all of the insanity is seeing a vision of herself killing Eretor, which she admits to Locust Walker and herself would never happen ever. She'd even let Eretor kill her before she'd take her own son's life. But what happens if Turalyon dies? What would that do to both Eretor as well as Alleria? Despite possessing a cold exterior, Alleria desperately loves Turalyon with all her heart, and she is already struggling to contain her newfound power over the Void. It wouldn't be a stretch to think that Alleria could be edged further and further to the brink by Turalyon's death. And it wouldn't be a stretch to say that Eretor, whose entire identity has revolved around hearing what fantastic and amazing heroes his parents are, and has spent his literal entire life trying to find, going off the deep end when his father dies shortly after their reunion. And then the dominoes can fall from there. Eretor becoming more reckless and downtrodden at his father's death could lead to his capture, corruption, or death himself, and that would break Alleria, causing her to become the horrible enemy she sees herself as in one of her visions. I don't know what'll happen, obviously, but as I've been saying, Blizzard has become pretty heavy-handed with their foreshadowing. I absolutely do not see it as a coincidence that a vision that Turalyon has seems to match up almost identically with a dream that Eretor, his son, has been having that was written over 10 years ago. And so, there we have it. What do you think? Am I onto something here, or am I reading too much into a few cool-sounding words that might have innocently been copied from one dream to a prophecy? What do you think will happen to Turalyon? How about Alleria? Will she be able to resist the call of the Void Lords? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. My name is Necroxis, and it feels good to have a video like this out again, and has made me want to make more in the future. We have plenty of topics to explore that have been introduced or reintroduced because of the audio drama. Is there anything specific you'd like to hear me talk about? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video entertaining or informative, I'd love it if you could give it a like and to subscribe to my channel. But if you really want to help me out, share this video with those you think would find it interesting. I'm always looking to introduce more people into the lore of Warcraft. But until then, I'll see you all next time, everybody. Stay awesome, and yeah, farewell.